Gentlemen, I hope you guys are having an awesome week. Hump day today. So today we're going to be doing something called a stabilizer workout. So what is a stabilizer muscle? Great freaking question. So a stabilizer muscle essentially holds you sturdy during a given exercise. And it's a really neglected portion of your muscles. That's why it's very, very important to work these out. Also, you can think of these as like the foundation of your body. So for example, if you're gonna hold something out in front of you, you're using a lot of shoulder stabilization. So that being said, since stabilizers aren't that taxing as using like really heavy resistance training, we're gonna go for no rests, if possible, we'll see. Still getting back in shape. So we're gonna start off by using the TRX, then we're gonna work in some single leg stuff with some free weight, and I also have something really cool, one of my favorite things, a balance board here, and we're gonna work out our proprioceptive skills. So, without further ado, we're going to start off with a single leg squat on the TRX. This is a great piece of equipment. If you guys do not have this, you can find an off-brand TRX version on Amazon for like 50 bucks. These are called WAS. That's just the brand, it's just an off-brand TRX. Otherwise, if you guys are really particular about your brands, TRX does sell they have good equipment, but it is like, I don't know, $150 to $200. So you can see for a single leg squat, I'm using the TRX as a support. I'm still aiming for that 90 degrees with my leg here. My other leg is just out nice and straight. Just go as low as you comfortably can. This is not that great if you have any knee issues or anything like that, so just be careful. Limit your range of motion if it does bother you. But the goal is to get down to 90 degrees. And just like always, we're going to go for that RPE of 8. So the repetition range does matter. I like to say 5 to 15 reps. Any higher is like a little bit too much, and any lower is just not enough, especially when you're doing this style of workout. So RPE of 8, I'm getting around like 10 here. You guys can double check me and count if you want. Make fun of my counting skills. And if you guys are feeling really brave, you guys can try a single leg squat without the TRX, which I'll do for the next set. Alright, cool. So lower body exercise done on the TRX. We're going to superset with the upper body like a chest press. But before I do that, earlier I showed you guys this balance board here. Whether or not you have one of these, you can just do a single leg balance standing still. A lot of research and evidence suggests you can actually do balance as a superset in between sets and it won't affect recovery. So all you need to do is simply single leg balance, knee up to 90 degrees, holding about 20-30 seconds, then you can switch sides. If you're really good at balancing, like I find some people are, a couple ways you can do to challenge that. So you can close your eyes as a progression, and that will really challenge your senses by closing your eyes. And then if that's still too easy for you, you need something like this. Something that's going to challenge your balance even more. Make sure I got this in frame here. So, you just do a single leg balance on something like a wobble board. And you guys can tell my balance is pretty decent. You can tell when the balance is off, I'll be like flailing all over the place. So, it's more I'm feeling pretty good. So same thing there, you can go for 10 to 20 seconds or so. And if you guys want to find one of these, I believe I got this on Amazon for like 20 bucks or so. Just a little wobble stabilization board. It's kind of like a smaller version of the Bosu ball. I have a Bosu ball over there too, but it's flat, actually has a hole in it. Those work too, but this will actually be a little bit harder because it's less of a surface to balance on. Alright, so superset, we're going to go chest press next. So for chest press, it would just be like doing a push-up on the ground, like so. Now, I find for a lot of people this is too easy. So, to make this harder, you want to add elevation with your legs and your feet. So what I like to do is, I have a plyometric box here, I don't know if it's in the shop, but I actually like to put my feet up on top of this. Now this is a pretty big elevation, so if you guys have like a chair or a stool, you can slide it up against the wall and you use something like that to elevate your feet. So this takes a lot of stabilization. As you find, when I lift up with one leg, I'm gonna favor one side, so you really gotta engage the core, make sure it's stabilizing really well. See that right there, how my arms are slipping? You gotta really stabilize. We'll just go down for a push-up. I'm just gonna lengthen these a little bit. Actually, sorry, I'm gonna make these a little bit smaller. And I also have a chair over here too that I can use as well. But we're gonna use a plyo box. Let me slide this against the wall real quick here. All right, cool. Okay, so as I was saying, if you guys need some extra challenge for your push-ups, just go and elevate the feet a little bit, just like so. All right. Cool. Superset done. Next up, we're gonna go to lower body. So as you guys remember from Monday's stream, when I do supersets, I like to go upper, lower, upper, lower. That allows a little bit of rest period for whatever body part I'm not hitting. So it allows my upper body to rest while I'm hitting my lower body. So we're gonna go ahead and do single leg deadlifts. So for this one, you can absolutely use the T-Rex as a support if you want to. You're gonna hold on with one arm like this, and essentially just bring one leg up to 90 degrees, and we're gonna reach down. And as we reach down, our leg goes back. Kind of keep it at 90 degrees. If you want to straighten out, totally fine. You're gonna keep a little bend in your knee, but relatively straight. And you're just gonna reach down for about your shin. You're gonna come back up, you're gonna squeeze the glutes. So exact same thing as the deadlift, we're just doing it with a single leg. Now, if you guys feel confident, you don't need the support of the TRX, feel free to just do it with no support, so just a single leg right here. But for me, this is still a little bit too easy, so I'm actually going to use the free weight, so adding a little bit more challenge there. And when you do a free weight, you can hold it just like you would for a regular deadlift in between the legs, but it's going to go, just slide down this leg right here, come back up. And sorry if you guys, I don't know if you guys can hear there's a jackhammer going outside. There's a lot of construction going on, so apologize for that if you guys can hear it. Okay, I'm going to go other side. Make sure you guys can see this. All right. Deadlift done. Now we're going to go to row. So TRX row, basically anything you do on the TRX, anytime you add more of an incline or elevate the feet, it's going to make it harder. So if I want the hardest row possible on the TRX, I'm going to go close to 90 degrees. So you guys can see me down here, cool, still in the frame. Pretty much at 90 degrees down here. This is a really hard row and I would not recommend it unless you're really experienced with TRX. But you can work your way down. You know, you could almost start at 90. It's gonna be just probably too easy for most people. And you can just work your way down all along this elevation here. No matter what, we're keeping our spine nice and neutral. Our head is looking up at like a 45 degree to keep it neutral with the spine. I'm just trying to engage and keep that back tight the entire time. Remember to breathe. I like to exhale as I'm exerting pressure and force. So breathing out as I come up, in as I go down. So those are the four primary compound lifts right there. You got a squat, you got a chest press, you got a deadlift, and a row. So feel free to balance in between any of those sets, after those sets. You can do it on the ground, you can do it with something like a balance board like I got right here. But when you're doing this style of exercise, it's not so challenging that you need to do a lot of rest periods. Obviously, this is something you're going to need to build up to, but it's not as taxing as doing resistance training, so you definitely won't need as much rest. And if you feel like you're up for it, you can do what I'm doing. I'm trying to go no rest and just superset everything today. Ooh, my balance is slipping. And pro tip too, if you guys really want to work on your balance game, practice single leg balance. Your eyes open or eyes closed while you're doing mundane tasks, such as washing the dishes, brushing your teeth, stuff like that. Even watching television, hop up real quick, start doing some balancing where you can kind of practice your proprioceptive skills while pretty much zoning out, like brushing your teeth and watching TV and stuff like that. Washing dishes might be a little bit more challenging, but you know, for those of you that are really good at balance, work up to it. All right, so we're gonna go back to the start, and we're gonna go to our single leg squat. So if you guys do need support for that single leg squat, feel free to use something like the TRX. Remember, we go down to 90 degrees, just like we would a regular squat. No different than a regular squat, you're just doing a single leg. Now, if that's too easy for you guys, you can find something else to hold you for support, like say it's a chair or something to hold on to. Or if you guys are really daring, you want to try a single leg squat, just try body weight. And we'll see how my single leg squat goes today. Feeling kind of tight in my hips, my low back's kind of tight, so probably won't get as low as you want to get, but you want to get down to like 90 degrees here. Yeah, feeling pretty tight, so I'm just going to limit my range of motion. So it's not always the best to go for a limited range of motion. It tends to be something you want to, range of motion tends to be something that you're going to want to go full with, like 100% range of motion. And if that means being more humble and going down to something that you're more comfortable with, or that your body feels more comfortable with, then more often than not, that's going to be better. I'm just being stubborn today. I want like a really big challenge. That's why I'm going single leg squat with no support. But I am suffering as far as the efficiency goes a little bit, because I'm only going about like 60-70% range of motion. And a lot of research has shown that you actually get more benefit from your muscles going a full range of motion during exercise. So I am suffering a little bit of efficiency here, just for the sake of making it more challenging, because I'm only going about 60-70%. But yeah, general rule of thumb, get full range of motion on stuff. Every once in a while, if you want to try to push yourself in a lesser range of motion, feel free. All right, cool, so we got single leg squat done. We're gonna go to chest press, or push-up rather, sorry. This is kind of like a chest press variant. So push-up, if you guys need more of a challenge rather than just pushing up like this, feel free to elevate the legs like I'm gonna do. Like so. If you guys do not have a TRX, feel free to do this on the ground, any of these exercises, bodyweight variants. If you guys don't have free weights at home, like dumbbells, kettlebells, stuff like that, you should check it out. They're pretty cheap. But if you guys, for whatever reason, do not want to spend money on some free weights. You guys can use stuff like backpacks and books. That's one of my favorite things to do if I'm like traveling or something. I'll just like throw all my my luggage, like my suitcase stuff, books, clothes, stuff like that, electronics, throw it in a bag, and I'll use that as my weight. So definitely workarounds. I mean, if you guys have gallons of water hanging around or gallons of like laundry detergent, you can get really creative with what you use for free weights if you need that challenge. But today we're doing stabilizing stuff, so a lot of body weight stuff, a lot of single legs, stuff like that. So you might not need it, but just keep that in mind. If you guys do need some weights, there's a lot of workarounds. All right, so I know I said I was going to superset everything. I'm starting to rant and not supersetting, so I'm going to stop talking right now. All right, so we got squat, push-up. Now we're going to go for a dead. If you guys need support, right there. Otherwise, feel free to do body weight, or what I'm going to do is just weighted. Last of the superset is rows. The more the incline, the better. The more challenging it will be. So we're going to go down to 90 degrees here. Finish up with some balance. I got my balance board here. So feel free to do any sort of progressions or regressions with these exercises. So if you guys do not have a balance board or don't feel like your balance is up to par in order to do it on a balance board, just do single leg balance standing still. If that is too if that is too still challenging for you, feel free to use the support as you're doing single leg balance, and then work up to using less and less of that support or holding on to something as you're doing a balance. And that, over time, will allow you to do better and better with balance. It's a lot of practice. You guys run around earlier during the stream, I was mentioning different times and ways you can get your balance in. When you're doing mundane stuff like watching TV, brushing your teeth, washing the dishes, stuff like that. Really easy ways to get balance in. Or if you're waiting in line too, that's a big one. You're already standing up. Most people are waiting in line, you're on your phone. Most people, I don't know if you guys see this in the banks and stuff like that. People are in line like this. Look at their neck on their phone like that. That's gonna mess your spine up. Keep your head straight, damn it. Bring your phone up to head level like that, or keep it neutral, or wherever you're at. You don't wanna go like that. So like if you're in line at a bank, amusement park, whatever, that's another great time to do single leg balance. People might look at you weird, but hey, guess what? At the end of the day, if you keep practicing your balance, you'll probably be better than that. So, let the haters hate. All right, we're gonna go for our last set, just doing 3 sets today. We're gonna go back to our single leg squat. So if you guys do need support for that, feel free to hold on to something for your single leg squat. I'm gonna go ahead and do a freestanding single leg squat. And keep in mind, it is really good to get full range of motion with everything you do. As I mentioned earlier, I'm kind of sacrificing some efficiency here because I'm not going full range of motion. It's okay to do every once in a while, but you don't want to get in the habit of sacrificing full 100% range of motion just to be able to do something. push-up. So the order, upper, lower, upper, lower. If you guys need more challenge, elevate the feet for push-ups. Otherwise, you can just feel free to do them on the knees or on the ground. Next up, we're going to go deadlift. So for single leg deadlift, you guys need to support, reach it down. Otherwise, you do body weight. And I'm going to go for a weighted version. Go a little bit heavier to challenge ourselves for the last set. Last but not least, we're going to go to row, and we'll go to balancing. That'll be it for today. Another quick workout. That is it for today, ladies and gents. As always, remember to get a solid warm-up. So that's some arm swings, leg swings, ankle rolls, just getting all the blood flow going. And then after you get your primary exercise in, which we just did right now, cool down. So feel free to do some stretching. My favorite thing to do is to work from your toes and your feet all the way up to every body. So I'll just show you a demonstration of my typical stretching routine. We're gonna start with just a calf stretch. Right here, you're planting the ankle down. You're just leaning into that knee. A nice calf stretch there. Sometimes you may not feel this in the calf. If that's the case, you can find a surface. I'm not sure if you guys can see this in the frame. Yeah, I think you guys can. And just elevate your toes and just lean into that leg. And this is another way to hit your calves. So in particular, my calves aren't really tight right now. So if that's the case, you don't need to spend a lot of time stretching. So I only hold for about 10 seconds or less if they're not tight. And you may find one side's tighter than the other. So just play it by ear or play it by muscle tightness rather. So after that, I like to do a quad stretch. So just stretch out the front quad here, like Morris. Just if you need a something to hold on to, feel free. Otherwise, you can just do single leg balance essentially. And again, this isn't really that tight for me. One thing that you'll find is the more consistent you work out, specifically resistance training wise, but just in general as well, a lot of your tightness, your muscle tightness will go away. Because believe it or not, a lot of tight muscles happen because you're weak in those specific areas. Like people's necks and traps are always really tight, and you'd be amazed by just what a couple strengthening exercises for the neck and the traps would do for that muscle tightness. So the rectus femoris front quads weren't that tight. I'm gonna go next to my hamstrings. So just reaching. If you guys want a little bit more of a stretch for your hamstrings, you can actually reach between the legs like that. And also, when we're doing our hamstring stretch, I don't like to relax my back like this. And you can see how I have this hump in my back. I like to always keep a neutral spine, so I engage my shoulder blades just like this. Allow my head to go neutral with my spine. And if you can touch your toes in this position, or like pinning our shoulders back and neutral spine, that's how you know you're really flexible. I think it's pretty easy to touch your toes when you're just relaxing like that. But if you keep everything relatively engaged and neutral, like you should. All right. So after the hamstring stretch, those are a little bit tighter, so I held a little bit longer there. Next up, we're going to go to an inner thigh stretch. A couple different ways you can do that. One way, just doing like a split stance like this. You do like a single leg squat to one side, and just keep this toe, both toes, going straight forward. You just lean on one side, you can feel that inner thigh stretch. It's a little bit tight, so a little longer. I typically go for tighter muscles about 20-30 seconds longer if they need it. It's all just relative to how tight the muscle is. The longer you hold, the more you'll feel that muscle relax. And I always find when I'm stretching, a really cool technique that helps release muscle tightness is one, breathing deep in and out, but also closing your eyes and like visualizing a happy place, a relaxing place. You guys would not believe what that does for releasing tightness in your body. So practice that. Got the inner thighs. Next up, we're going to go for the hip flexors, the TFL. So we're going to do split stance, very similar to how we stretch out the calf. But the difference here when we're stretching the TFL is we're not going to necessarily lean into this front knee. We're just going to set it at 90 degrees above our ankle there. Back leg relatively straight. Excuse me. Hands on the hips. And in this position, what we want to do is we want to tuck the pelvis. Okay, so you guys will see my pelvis here. I'm going to tuck it like that. You guys see that? Tuck. Very similar how you'd like tuck your pelvis for like a deadlift. And in this position, you should feel a nice stretch in the TFL area. And if you guys want a little bit extra leverage, what you guys can do is bring this exact same stance here just down to the knee. Just like that. Same sort of concept. We're not leaning into the knee. We're tucking the pelvis just like that. And that'll get you a little bit more leverage if you need it. Another variation for this stretch, what you can do, is I'll go and try to turn this way. You're going to go ahead and lift one arm up. So whatever arm is opposite of the leg that's in front. So my left leg's in front, my right arm comes up. I'm going to rotate it 45 degrees. Then I'm going to lean over. What this does is this gets a nice stretch all down the obliques, maybe a little bit of lat even. Then it goes down into the TFL. And then we go and do the same thing on the other side. So split stance, set that knee 90 degrees over the ankle. We tuck the pelvis. And I feel like my left side, I can already feel it is very, very tight, much tighter than my right side. And again, if you guys want more leverage, you can bring this down to a kneeling. And it's not necessarily how much you lean into your knee, it's about how you tuck your pelvis, right here. And we go, rotate at 45, over like that. So we get all down here. All right, next up, I like to get a reach. I think just reach for this, yeah. Reaching as high as you can, trying to elongate that spine. For me, this really decompresses my lower back and gets a nice stretch there. This is a great stretch to do while laying down in bed or on the couch too. Just arms straight out, legs straight out. Really great for decompressing the spine. If you're like me and you have low back injury or issues, feels really good. Okay, so after reach, I like to do something called the door stretch. So getting the pec minor all stretched out. And believe it or not, this could actually help the neck. If you guys find that your neck is like forward a lot like that, stretching out your pec minor can also loosen up the neck musculature. So, pec minor, excuse me, if you have a doorway, you can put both hands between like that and lean into it. Otherwise, you can use one side of an edge or corner of a wall. I'm going to use one side of this rack here. So, we're going to go like this, just using one side, and then we're going to lean into it. You set that arm up at 90 degrees, and just lean into it, get a nice stretch for that pec. switch sides. My pecs aren't really too tight. I'm finding as I'm getting more consistent with my workouts, a lot of my muscles are starting to loosen up. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of tightness can be from weak muscles. Alright, now I got the pec minor stretched. Last but not least, we're going to work on the neck muscles being stretched. So I like to just lean to one side like you're leaning your your head on your shoulder. So bringing that ear down to that shoulder there. You don't want to bend the spine like that. Make sure to always keep your spine as neutral as possible. And you could put extra pressure by putting your hand down on your head, but I find for most people, myself included, this is enough pressure right here. And you don't want to like crank down on your neck. So when you're doing static stretching, especially like muscles like your neck, you never want to stretch more than like a 7 out of 10. 10 out of 10 would be just like literally pulling as hard as you can. Like a 7 out of 10 is, you know, moderate. Like you're getting a nice stretch, but you're also not like yanking on a certain muscle or joint. But yeah, for me, this is like really good amount of tension. So just going on the other side too. Neck muscles aren't too tight. So I'm just going to hold for about 10 to 20 seconds, but feel free. If you have really tight muscles, hold as long as you want. You can hold 60 seconds or longer if you want. There is not a huge benefit after going a minute or two. What's going to benefit you more rather than holding for long periods of time when you're doing your static stretching is going to be consistently stretching and also doing some resistance exercise. That will definitely help loosen up the muscles the more consistent you are with both of those two things. Next thing we're going to do for the neck is we're actually going to go 45 degrees on the shoulder. We're going to look down at the pocket, just like so. If you need a little bit extra pressure, feel free to put your hand on the back of your head and push down. But again, you don't want to pull too hard, especially on the neck muscles here. And for me, this is definitely enough tension. Not too tight there. We're going to go other side, so I'm looking 45, down at the pocket. All right, so last but not least, we're going to look up at 45 degrees right here, and we're going to get a nice stretch in the back of the muscle, or back of the neck here. So looking up at 45 degrees, just like that. If you want to think of it too, you're also kind of like trying to bring your left ear. So I'm looking up to the left here. Trying to bring my left ear like down to my trap up here. So that. All right, same thing, looking up. Try to bring my right ear down to my trap there. Looking up at 45 degrees. Alright, so definitely a lot more things you can do for a cool down and static stretch, but that's just my typical go-to. Feel free if you guys have any tight muscles to stretch those out before and after exercise. But typically speaking, you want to do a lot of active warm-up before exercise, so arm swings, leg swings, stuff like that. Because static stretching is found to make the muscle more elastic and weak. So not the best thing to do if you're doing like resistance training, to do a lot of stretching for your muscles, because you're making them really elastic and maybe not as strong as they would be otherwise. So definitely save static stretching for really, really tight muscles. After you're done with your activity, feel free to static stretch everything. Hope you guys are enjoying these workout streams. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys want to see any other content, feel free to reach out. Shoot me some comments, shoot me some DMs. I really appreciate it. Any and all feedback I love. Yeah, so just keep in mind we're going to be doing these every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, every day that I can. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or every time that I can, rather. It's going to be from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's the time frame. I seem to be doing a lot of 8 a.m. streams. So yeah, anywhere between the 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. time frame, check out the streams. If you're watching later, I really appreciate you checking out the content. And if you made it this far, awesome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, feel free to leave me some feedback. And I'll see you guys on the next stream.